Well, welcome back to the tutorial. We'll continue from where we stopped. So we'll quickly open our IDE. Let's just execute it and see a few things. So so far so good. We are happy with what we've developed in terms of the um, um, uh, in terms of the GUI. So the one thing that we need to change is just to look to increase this space here, the length of this uh, scale slider. We increase it, and then the other thing that we are going to do is just want to validate. So what we want to do is that for this number of users in millions, it can only be digits that are accepted. So those are the two things that we are going to do quickly before we go and start connecting these widgets to the database and introducing advanced functionality. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to that slider. Let's go to that slider. The slider, I think we had set this length to 600. Let's make it 680. And if we run it now, so you can see it's almost filling that space there. So once that is done, let's go and do a validation. So what we want to do is that for the number of users in millions, we only want digits. We don't want so when somebody captures information in that text, we don't want any other type of characters to be captured. So to do this, we are quickly going to define a function, and this function will help us to say, all right, we only want digits. So let's call it digits only. So whatever we capture in here must only be digits. All right. So the way it is going to work is that we are going to pass a parameter to this same function, and that function is going to check if that parameter that we've entered is indeed a number. So we're just going to declare a variable which will be passing. We'll say app user, say app users, whatever. Okay, let's do that, and then we start doing our function. So what we are saying is that if this thing that we've captured and passed to this parameter, so we are saying if this, okay, there is a function in Python, so we are saying is digit. Those of you who are familiar with the Microsoft SQL, we've got functions where if we want to test if something, for example, is a date, we'll test is date. If something is numeric, so you test the data type. So what we are saying is that if this the input that we've passed there is digit, okay, is digit, or but there are certain cases where it could be space. All right, then what must we do? Then only then must it return true. Okay, otherwise, okay, so we're going to say else. All right, now in Tkinter, or in Python, what we want to do now is here we want to display a message. If it's not, that was going to say return true, meaning that it must return a value. Otherwise, if it's not, we want to display a message. Now, messages in Tkinter, so we need to, because we're going to use a message, we need to import a message. Okay, so Thinkitter has got its own message dialog boxes. So we need, if we want to use a message dialog box, we need to import it from Thinkitter. Import message box. So there are all manner of message boxes. So we're saying from that one, import. All right, there are all manner of message boxes, and we are going to see which one we are going to use. So for this exercise, we are going to use just so you could have message boxes which just display information. So in this case, we are going to have a message box that displays information only. So we are going to say message box, okay, dot show info. You can see here. So this is just showing us information. So any message box requires at a minimum of 2 parameters. The first one is just the heading, so the heading of the window. So we're going to say up, what can we say, up user numbers. So that will be the heading, and what will be the message in that heading. We can say valid input. No, let's just say can only accept digits. All right, and then we say return false. All right, now that we've done that, we need now to bind this function to this. So we are going to say this variable, now we are passing it to, okay, so we want, what we want to do is we want to bind this to the function. So to do that, we're going to say that one, then you say where is this where is this is within this application. So let us go and do, we'll say that, then we say dot register. So register, okay, open bracket. What do we want to? We want to validate. So there are several things that you can validate. So in this case, we want to validate a key inputs. All right, and then what do we say? We say, all right, validate command. Validate command equals. Here you have to be quite careful, because if you just do the case wrongly, then it won't work. So what we want to do is we want this that we are passing here, okay, let's do that, and then we say comma in open quotes $p, and most people usually make a mistake of putting a small p there. So now what we need to do is, now we now need to attach, okay, we now need to attach that to sorry, what was I doing? Sorry, we need to what we need to do here is this is actually the only thing that we do in registering. Sorry, we needed to do, so we just need to register, sorry about that, we need to register that function. All right, once we've registered that function, now we need to bind, okay, we need now to bind that. Okay, so to bind it, we do a configuration, config, okay, then open bracket. Yeah, that is now correct. So if we try to let's run it, okay, there's a syntactical error somewhere. So we are saying if right, return if user is digits or that. Okay, we do that. All right, that is okay. Okay, let's just see the error again. What was the error? All right, we needed we are saying equal to, okay, equal to blank. So if we run it now, all right, it's not. So there is a difference between, this is an assignment statement, so if we're trying to make a comparison, it has to be double equal sign. Okay, so app users not defined. Why is app users not defined? All right, so what we need to do, sorry about that, there is a mistake here. We're supposed to say equal sign we are when we are registering it, we do that. All right, so now we've got our app code here, so we can say, maybe let's take it that we had something like this, Facebook, and here we say Facebook messaging application, and then we try to, all right, so it can't accept that, so that one to accept. So now we can move on to other things, because we were able to do that quite yeah, we were able to do that quite smartly. So that one we've done. In the course of time, there's another validation that I would like us to do, but I think that one we'll do at a later stage. But for now, I just wanted us to go straight and start doing the database aspect of it. We want to start connecting to the database. So before we can do that, I would like us to go and open the workbench. Okay, let's just open that workbench. All right, so in the workbench we've got all right, so this is our instance of MySQL. So let me just try to do that. So the user that we are using is root, and the password, I have it already as password. So we've got that. So the first thing that you do when you are working with databases in most programming languages, the first thing we are going to do, maybe let's comment out that. So what we want to do is that when somebody hits the search button, we want to pass some information from the graphical user interface into the database and retrieve that information related to that. So the first thing that we are going to do, we are going to make a connection to the database. But for us to make a connection to the database, we need to have a library that allows us to do that. This one is not native to you have to import it. That library is called the MySQL connector. So we are going to say from it's just actually it's not from Tkinter, so we are going to say import MySQL dot connector. All right, now that we have that, then it means we can use it. Okay, so where are we? All right, so here what we need to do is we need to declare a variable. This variable we're going to call it db equals we're going to say MySQL dot connector dot connect. All right, we want now to connect to the instance, okay, to this instance of MySQL. Considering that is just on my machine, so you need to say host, okay, equal to and then you need the user that you are using equal to, and then you need the password that you are using for your connection. So if your host was on the network, we could just put in the IP address of that server that is hosting the server. Considering that it is on my machine, I'm going to say local host. Okay, the user is root, and the password that I'm using is password. Of course, at an advanced stage, we don't usually do this. This would be in a file, but for now, let's just, so that is supposed to happen in SQL. Once that is done, we need to create a cursor object. Now, a cursor object is an object that you use to do execution of SQL statement. So that one, we also need to give it a name. So we are going to say db cursor, that is what we're going to call it, is equal to, now that is working on that object that has been, that connection that you've done. Okay, so it's db dot cursor. All right, once we've done that, it means now we can start using our database. So now let us just go and see. Okay, so maybe let's just print something here just to test that. All right, for now let's leave it. Let's just check something quickly. So in here, all right, let's do that. So if I run this query, okay, I've used that database and then show the tables in there. This is the only table that is there. Okay, so okay, let me copy that one and just paste it there. So I'm going to do the same in here. So I'm going to say because now I want to execute a command, I'm going to copy that and say, okay, that one dot execute. All right, what am I executing? All right, I'm basically executing this command here. I want to use, okay, because so you could have several databases. Now we just want to use that database. Once that one has been done, we need now to do a select statement. So we need to select, okay, we need to select, so we say dot execute, okay. All right, now here we need to write our SQL statement. It could be select star. I'm trying to avoid using star. I want to use the actual field names. So the quickest way to get the field names is I'm going to say, okay, describe, okay, describe, that is the table name that we have. So if we run this, all right, so what it will do is that it will give us, when you describe, it will give us the field names that we have on that database. So these are the field names. This one we're not using because it is an auto increment field. It's a field that we've just created on that database. All that we are interested in, sorry, let's just quickly move. Sorry, let's run it again. All right, so this is what we need. So I'll copy that, okay, and move it in here. All right, so what we need, we're saying select that. Okay, let's just make it select. All right, so basically what I'm trying to say is that if, okay, let's select from this database. Select star. Okay, from. Okay. These are the contents, as you saw from that demonstration. These are the contents of this database. So I want to get a whole listing of that fields in this table in my select statement. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I don't want to bring in other aspects of let's just do it this way for now. I know it's ridiculous, but okay. All right, from what is the name of the database? The name of the database is that one there. So we copy it from there, we say from there, but then so that this select statement can suffice. It can bring us what we want. So maybe all right, let's do that, and then so we've done up to there. Okay, but then what we want is we don't want to get everything. We just want so let me just see how I've been writing. So my okay, so let's make this one capital. From there, where, okay, because we use the upcode. Okay, we use the upcode for searching from our graphical user interface. We are saying where upcode equals the syntax is %sign s. Okay, once we do that, we now need to go and say comma, because this upcode is coming from this text that we defined here. It is coming from there. So we are saying if we print in something in the upcode text, we need that. Okay, we need it. So that is what is going to pass the thing that we're searching for. So the syntax for that is dot get. In other words, we are getting the contents of that widget. So it's a function, and then you say comma, then another bracket there. So if now we run it, let's nothing will happen. Let's just see. Okay, what is going on? What is going on here is that, okay, so we've got an open bracket there. We're saying where, okay, comma, upcode.text, where is that? Upcode, okay, let's see, why is it giving us an error? All right, so this, okay, so we had more than one bracket. Let's just add that bracket there. So if we run it, then it should be, but nothing is going to happen even if we click on this. There's nothing that is happening there. In fact, there's an error. So let's just see what that error is all about. So if we go, we said DB. Okay, so let's just quickly go and see on top. We said import MySQL connector. That is fine. Okay, let us go and see here. DB equals supposed to say MySQL, not all right. So if we run now, F5, okay, FB, all right. So there's still a number of errors. We just need to see what is causing those errors and fix. So a quick way to see what is wrong sometimes is just to introduce prints. So let's just see if we let's I could have put it much earlier, but let's just say print. We just want to say we are in here. Just see if all right. So if we execute this, all right, let's put FC, whatever it is. All right, it is still giving us an error, did it print our all right, so it printed our in there, so it means that up to this point we are fine. So most probably the error is coming from here, but let's just do this. We comment that one out, we search it. All right, so it's printing, so we know that the offending line is most probably this one. All right, let us just go and see this line. Select, that is the list of fields from that table where that guy equals. We need an equal sign there. All right, so now if we execute this, all right, say fv, nothing is going to happen, but we are happy that we are able to go past this point. Okay, now that we've managed to make a connection to the database, the next lesson will involve how do we deal with the information that we've extracted from the database, and how do we start using it. So that will be the task for the next lesson.